What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and I thought today would be a good day to take a look at this article from Forbes and make fun of it, because it may be one of the worst takes I have ever seen. No, it is not satire. It would be a whole lot funnier if it was, but unfortunately, it's not. Disney Plus is missing the obvious. It needs a Star Wars Rey Skywalker series. Again, not a joke. This is a real opinion piece. Now, this is stupid on many levels. We're going to get into it and pick it apart, some of the silly things that are said in it. But also, even Disney is not dumb enough to think that there's this big demand for people to learn more about Rey Skywalker. She is one of the most bland and boring characters that has led a franchise like this, maybe in cinematic history. And I think Disney understands that by losing half of their audience between The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker, that they shouldn't be investing in the future. This era of the sequel trilogy, I don't think they really want to revisit that. In fact, the actors don't even want to revisit that. The actors are completely over it. They don't want to do Disney Plus series. We heard that over and over again. So the entire idea of a Disney Plus Rey series is stupid. But let's get into it. Maybe he can make a convincing argument and change our minds. Disney is determined to make TV the future of Star Wars the next few years after the missteps of the big trilogy and the success of The Mandalorian. But what that means so far is a whole bunch of prequels. We have The Mandalorian, set well before the new trilogy. I don't think Mandalorian's a prequel to the sequels. I think it's tacked onto the back of the OT very clearly. We have Clone Wars. Listen to this. We have Clone Wars set before the prequels. It's not set before the prequels. It's literally in between the second and third installments of a trilogy. It's the back end of the prequels. So maybe that's just an oversight, or maybe that's really stupid. I don't know. We have the Cassian Andor series set before the original trilogy, and we have the Obi-Wan series set before the original trilogy. Now, the reason that all these are focused around that era is because, like I said, although Disney is stupid, they're not that stupid. Although Lucasfilm is stupid, they're not that stupid. They know that the only way they can get people to buy into Star Wars right now is to focus around nostalgia and those eras that they are familiar with, the prequel and the OT, the eras that they have a love for. Still, even after everything has been done to Star Wars, people have a love. And when you see stormtroopers, when you see TIE fighters, when you see walkers, things like that, that brings you back. It still makes you feel like Star Wars again. That is why they are focused in this. They can't get away from that. Even though they've done everything they can to destroy the legacy characters for Star Wars, they still need to milk this era, the original trilogy, the prequels, because people have a love for it. And now we have Disney moving into this general High Republic era, which is hundreds of years before that, along with rumors that it may do an Old Republic series or set of movies based on those games. In short, I think Disney has become way too afraid of the future or in the Skywalker saga after the end of the new trilogy. It's because they have destroyed it. That is why. What's in the future? What point is there in going to the future if you know that that's how it ends? With Rey holding a lightsaber, with a Palpatine holding a lightsaber, the daughter of a failed clone of Palpatine who was returned as a effed up clone holding a yellow lightsaber, calling herself a Skywalker. Imagine wanting to know more about that. If you watch The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker trilogy, just call it the sequel trilogy. It becomes pretty clear that it's one thing, an origin story for Rey. Yes, it is. By the time we reach the end, yes, she saved the galaxy like Luke Skywalker before her. Well, turns out Luke didn't actually save the galaxy, did he? He just delayed it for a little bit so that a Palpatine could kill a Palpatine. Yet it's clear that her journey as the new Jedi is just getting started. She has a new lightsaber, her own, finally, and she takes a new name to carry on the Skywalker legacy. A legacy Disney seems desperate to end. That is a good take. They are desperate to end it because they killed it. The end of The Rise of Skywalker feels like the beginning of a journey rather than the finale of one. And I think it's a shame that it went through all the events of the trilogy, including a dead Han, Luke, Leia, and Ben Solo, and Rey doesn't even really get to continue her story after all that. I understand that this is what happened with Luke too, but that was a different time. There was not going to be a Luke Skywalker Expanded Universe TV series back in the 80s and 90s, so we just got books instead. We just got books. We just got 150 novels, hundreds and hundreds of comics. a ton of young adult stuff, a ton of video games. That's all we got. Just the expanded universe, just this thing that kept Star Wars alive between the OT and the PT, and after the prequels, the thing that kept Star Wars alive. Just that. That's all. Just books. I'm sure as a writer, that must be tough for you, just getting books. Jesus. But now Disney is very, very much interested in Star Wars TV, and a Rey Skywalker series focused mainly on her instead of a giant ensemble cast seems like a good idea to me. Listen, Daisy Ridley is fine, but she is not an actor that jumps off the screen. She doesn't ooze charisma. Rey was despised by a lot of people very early on because she was not charismatic. Because she was kind of annoying. Like, no, I'm not going to say nobody, because I know that's not true. Not a whole lot of people want to see Rey Skywalker. Most people thought that Ben Solo was a much better character. Most people thought that Poe Dameron was a more interesting character. Most people thought that Finn was a more interesting character. Rey would be the least of those, and that's who they chose to lead the sequel trilogy. I think there is a show to be made after Rey's new journey as a true Jedi after the events of Rise of Skywalker. You could do it a way that doesn't require the cast of those last 3 movies to be around. Occasional cameos at most, maybe, if Finn wants to pop in and say hi. They don't! They've already said they're not interested in Star Wars. They're done with Star Wars. This was an abomination. They know exactly what it was. They were a part of it. And they're embarrassed. They don't want anything to do with Star Wars. They're not going to appear. But I definitely think you could make a story about Rey making her way in the galaxy, trying to figure out a way to rebuild the Jedi Order in this new era, whether that's finding a home base, finding Force-sensitive children, and so on. This would not have an insane blockbuster budget. It would not need to be a massive cast learning lessons from The Mandalorian. But I think Rey is the second most compelling character in the new trilogy, Rip Kylo. And that giving Daisy Ridley her own series that isn't focused on saving the universe and instead smaller in scope and scale is kind of the thing Disney needs to redeem the last trilogy and also have a must-watch content for Disney Plus that isn't just prequel after prequel. I do agree with some of that, I'll be honest. I've said that for a while. Not everything needs to be galaxy ending. We saw that, listen, we've seen that with J.J. Abrams. All he knows how to do is make bigger and bigger super weapons. That's all he can do is up the scale to ridiculous levels, and that doesn't make for quality movies. I think we understand that. Having something set, say like the Kenobi series. That's why the Kenobi series can actually, if they did it right, if they did it like they did it in the expanded universe, which, let's be honest, we know they're blatantly copying from the EU at this point with what we saw from Rise of Skywalker. If they can do it right like they did in the expanded universe, the Kenobi series can just be a story about a guy dealing with everything that Obi-Wan has to deal with his failures as a mentor, with his failures as a friend, with his failures as a Jedi. All the while, knowing that he's protecting the galaxy's only hope. You know, he still has a job to do, and he's also still needs to be trained by his old master. So that is not some galactic level disaster event. It's just a dude trying to deal with stuff on a boring planet like Tatooine. So that is something that is the way forward. That's a good story that doesn't need to be so huge in scale. But we'll see if that ever happens, if it ever takes off the ground, if they ever get these writing issues figured out. Maybe I'm crazy, but I would love to watch this series, and I suspect I'm not alone. Listen, you're not alone, but you may be crazy. Just saying. Just saying, Paul Tassi. Not your best work on this one. Can't say I agree with too much of this article. A Rey Skywalker Disney Plus series. Wrong on so many levels. Lucasfilm knows that they have screwed up with the sequel trilogy, that people are not invested in these characters. That's why they are set so focused around the OT and the PT, because they know that people have a love for that. And that's safe for them. They know they can get people excited. Look at Mandalorian. Mandalorian's a very average show, but because it has some stuff that still feels like Star Wars in it and reminds you that it's Star Wars. Oh, look, we're on Tatooine. Oh, look, Mos Eisley. Oh, look, the Cantina. Oh, wow, an AT-ST. You know, you have, oh, wow, a TIE fighter, stormtroopers. You have these things that people are still drawn to and can still get a lot of attention for it. So that's what they are sticking to, because they're not as stupid as we would all like to believe. They're stupid, but but they're not that stupid. They're not going to make a Rey Skywalker series. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you think anyone would actually be up for doing it, who would watch it? Would Daisy really even want to do it? Let's be honest, because I think all this cast is pretty much done with Star Wars for a good reason. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.